I just got this big box of new spring releases from the brand Catrice, and a lot of this stuff looks very similar to some high-end products. So let's go ahead and test this out. If you guys are not familiar with Catrice, they make some actually really good stuff. I have a lot of favorites from them. A lot of their foundations are so good. You can find some of their stuff on their website and Amazon. Ulta used to sell them, but they don't anymore for some reason. But I feel like they have so much good stuff and some fun things I want to try out. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we have to try is this Skin Glaze Hydrating Serum Primer, and this immediately reminded me of that super popular Natasha Denona, the Hygiene Primer Serum that came out. I feel like these look very similar. I know the Natasha one is described as a lightweight primer serum with a dewy finish to give moisture and also an instant glow. That primer from Natasha Denona is $48. This one's only $8 from Catrice, and I wanted to look up the description here. This says it beautifies, illuminates, and extends makeup wear. It's a non-greasy formula with a pearl finish that's supposed to give like a glass skin effect. So we will go ahead and try this out. I do have oily skin, so we'll see how I like this. I might just have to use a more mattifying foundation. I can definitely see like it has a pearly pink almost glow to it. I don't know if you guys could tell. On my hands, let's go ahead and put this on the face. I'm just kind of spreading this all over. So this actually dries down pretty fast. It almost has a little bit of tackiness to it, and I don't notice like a super glow, but it does have like a light kind of pearl finish to the skin. It just does give like that glass skin effect, and since it is tacky, maybe it'll really grip our foundation. Today I'm just applying my Urban Decay Face Bond because I'm really trying to test this out a couple more times before I give my final thoughts on this one. So I thought we would use this one today and see how it holds up with the primer. Now that foundation is applied, we're gonna actually skip on over to the eyes. So they actually sent over 3 new eyeshadow palettes. I have not used Catrice eyeshadow in a very long time, so I have no idea what to expect. But we have the Safari Fever palette, and I think these are $10 each. And it looks like this. There is a mixture of some mattes and shimmers and some different like textured shades as well. Next we have Blooming Bliss. This has some more rosy reds and pinks. We have the Coral Crush palette, which looks like this. This one's kind of giving almost like the Natasha Denona Zendo palette vibes. I don't know if they're trying to do Natasha. I feel like their textures they do kind of look more like Huda palettes, especially in this one where it has that glossy shade with like the little pigment balls in it and like these speckled ones. I know Huda does that quite a bit. I did apply some eye primer. I've been having to set my primer down now with powder, which I didn't have to before, but my eyelids have been so oily, and this really helps the shadows from creasing. So I have been having to kind of set my primer now, which is kind of weird, but I feel like I used to do that way back in the day. I think I'm gonna use the Coral Crush palette today. This one just looks so fun for summer, and it kind of goes with my shirt I have on. I like to match my eyeshadows. I'm gonna go ahead and start the look using this Starfish orangey color in the crease. I can tell that these do have a bit of some powder kick up to them, but they seem to be blending quite well. They might need just like a little bit more building than a normal high-end shadow. But overall it feels very soft and just easy to blend here. Next I'm going to take the shade Reef, which is this darker brown. I'm going to use this in the outer corner. I'm just kind of blending. Definitely a shade that needs some building for sure, because it is quite light, I feel like, on the eyes, especially when you start trying to blend it out. Let's use a little bit of this Lagoon color on the lower lash line, just to kind of have a fun pop of blue. This one I might have to spray because, yeah, it's not showing up super well on its own. So I just kind of wet that brush, and now it's definitely looking a lot brighter. Let's take this sparkly shade called Seashell. This looks really pretty. I'm going to put this on the lid. Oh yeah, that's a pretty color. You can definitely see the multi-dimensional glitters in there. It does feel very creamy, but I can tell it's a little bit thin, so you might need to layer that one up just a little bit. So that's how the eyes came out. I think overall it's fine. It's fine for a drugstore palette. Typically, when it comes to drugstore, I think I like Colourpop's quality a little bit better than Catrice. I feel like they just have a little bit better performing shadows, more pigmentation, smoother shimmers. But this isn't too bad. I would say this definitely ranks better than like Maybelline, CoverGirl, L'Oreal that you can find at like Walmart. But yeah, not as good as my Colourpop ones, but I know the Colourpop ones can be a little bit more pricey. Next, we're gonna try their under eye brightener. I feel like haven't they had this out? I don't know, I could be wrong. I know a lot of brands are doing these now. And this one is their like peachy pink color, which should really help brighten the under eye circles. I know there's so many dupes for this. Like I know NARS has one, Becca obviously had the super popular one, which is now owned by Smashbox. But yeah, let's go ahead and try this on. This is the light rose. Just dipping my concealer brush in here. I do have quite a bit of product on, which I don't really want that much. I'm going to dip a little bit of that off, and then we'll go ahead and kind of start concealing some of my darkness. I'm just kind of patting underneath the eye. You can use these alone, but sometimes I just prefer wearing them under a concealer because I feel like sometimes these formulas, like this is a little bit sticky, and that's gonna crease up, or my mascara is gonna smudge into that. So that's why I like to start with this, and then I'll go with a concealer on top. Because yeah, it just doesn't set to me like a normal concealer. Even putting powder on, it just feels a little sticky, but it does a great job at adding that brightness in. And I love like the pink tone to it. This will give you that nice base, and so then your concealer will just be super flawless on top, and we won't see any darkness. I'm just adding a tiny little dot in each corner. I'm gonna actually cover up these blemishes here as well and blend that out with the same brush. So that's how it looks on. As you can see, it's very luminous and kind of dewy under there, since that brightener is a little bit on the sticky side. So we're going to set this with the powder, and then we can move on to the next product. Next up, we're going to play with this little cheek palette, and this immediately kind of looked like the Makeup Forever cheek palettes, if you guys have seen. Theirs are double-sided though. I know they just came out with one that looks like this that has blush in it. The Makeup Forever ones have a total of 12 shades, while this one has just 6, and it's just one side. But yeah, I really want to try these creams. I will insert the swatches for you. It looks like there is a mix of some bronzing shades and some blush and a highlight. I also have other blushes I want to try, so I think we're gonna try this for the bronzer today and maybe the highlighter. So this guy retails for $8. I will tell you, I have tried the Makeup Forever bronze and highlight version, and I don't love the formulas of their bronzers. For some reason they break me out. They're kind of oily and they break up really bad on me. They do not last at all. So I'm curious to see if I'll like this one a little bit better. This is, I guess more of a highlight. So maybe 2 highlights, 2 bronzers, 2 blushes. Let's try out this lighter bronze cream here. Luckily I have just the perfect brush to dip in. This is the Singe Beauty FO1. It fits it perfectly. I was a little bit worried that the pans would be too small. So I'm going to dip a little bit on my hand first, just so we don't get too much product, and then blend this onto the skin, just in this cheekbone area. Seems pretty natural so far, which I'm liking. I think this has a little bit of shine to it, which so does the Makeup Forever, so I guess that makes sense. They would be pretty comparable. So far, I think it's actually pretty nice. I'm just still building this up a little bit, adding as I go. I'm gonna add a little bit to the sides of my nose, but I'm wondering how this is gonna hold up on me because it does look a little bit dewy. All right, let's leave it at that. We will come back to this for the highlight, but I want to use one of the blushes because they actually sent these liquid blushes. There is 5 shades in total, and these retail for only $6, which is crazy. Now, I know there's a ton of liquid blushes, so I don't know if they're duping a certain brand in particular, but I just think there's a lot of brands that have blushes that look like this. I think, you know me, I like to try like the most neutral. Let's try this one. There is a really pretty pink too, but since we have more warm tones on the eyes, let's try out Velvet Rose. I'm gonna just put, I think, a little on my hand first. I like to use the BK Beauty 111 brush when I'm working with liquid and cream blushes. So I do have this kind of blended here that I'm just dipping into. And then we're gonna go straight on the cheeks here and just blend. Okay. It's actually a little more natural than I thought it would be. So I feel like I'm getting so much shine with these blushes and not enough pigment. I want to go back in here and do the highlight. Even though we are pretty glowy already, I just have to try this highlight color here. I'm just using the Sigma F64 for this. It's like a dense brush. And we'll see how this looks on. I think this is one too that you could easily use with your fingers. I don't know if I love the sparkle that's in it. I kind of wish it was just more of a wet look, but I do think it does look nice overall on the skin. You can kind of see the shift a little bit there. All right, now we can do the lips. Let's see, I want to use a lip liner first. So I'm gonna first go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Hot Gossip lip liner. And it looks like Catrice has also come out with some Tarte Juicy Lip dupes here. I know everyone's kind of doing these right now, the clicky pens that are shiny. So let's see how these compare. This color looks pretty. These look quite dark, so let's see if they go on a little lighter. But these are their Juicy lip balms. They even kept the Juicy in the name. Melt and Shine, and these are also $6. This is the shade Secret. Okay, they look way more dark in the tube. You kind of had to press quite a bit to get the pigment. Yeah, these are a lot more sheer than I was actually expecting, but they do look really nice on the lips. They don't melt quite as much as the Tarte ones do, which is kind of good, but they also don't give as much of a glossy look as the Tarte ones do. So since there is some differences, I wouldn't say this is an exact dupe by any means, but these do look nice on the lips. I like the little shine that it has, and I like that they don't melt and goop up as much as the Tarte ones. So I think this does look very, very pretty. It looks perfect with that lip liner that we chose. I'm a little nervous of this makeup slipping and sliding on my face since a lot of the products were kind of dewy, so gotta do some setting spray. This is just the Charlotte Tilbury one. I am actually going to go get my hair done right now, so I'm going to look like maybe a whole new person by the time I do this video. But I do want to do a little wear test here so you guys can kind of see how everything held up on me. But here is what we are looking like right now. These do look very pretty and dewy, which is very popular for the summertime, but not always the best thing when you have a little more oily skin. So I definitely want to see how these hold up today. I'll be back in a few more hours to give you guys my thoughts. All right, guys, I am back. We might look a little bit different now that I got my roots touch up and the Icy Blonde is back. But just wanted to kind of go over these products now that I've had them on, I think, about 6 hours now. Starting with the primer, I actually felt like this really did look beautiful under our foundation. I feel like the foundation has held up pretty well with it. I know I've gotten a little bit oily with the Urban Decay foundation in the other times I've tried it, so I'm actually really surprised how well it looked. And I do feel like this did give a nice like glass skin appearance. I thought it was really pretty on the skin. The palette has held up really well too. We don't have any creasing. I just think that, yes, you do need to build up the shades a little bit, but the overall look is very beautiful. I did get a little compliment on my eye look today. So I think it's, you know, it's a fine formula. When it comes to my eyeshadows though, I do like to spend a little bit more on just a really good overall performing palette that takes less work. That's just how I am. I like to spend a little bit more on eyeshadow, but other things I don't really mind. So, you know, this isn't like a top favorite for me, but I think for a drugstore brand, it is honestly pretty decent. But yeah, not as good as my Colourpop, but definitely better, like I mentioned, than what CoverGirl, Maybelline, etc. has at like Walmart and Target. I did really like this little cheek palette though, this Magic Shaper Face Cream palette. I think it is kind of comparable to the Makeup Forever, and that one is really, really expensive. So I feel like this is kind of a nice thing to have. I just wanted to go in with a little bit of the blush on my cheeks just to kind of try it since we didn't get to, and You know, our blush from earlier I didn't really care for. That one has faded for the most part, but I don't know. I think that these are pretty nice. They do have a little bit of a glowy finish to them, but I actually feel like they last a little better than the Makeup Forever ones. And they're really nice and easy to blend out. I feel like not a lot of drugstore brands have a cream palette like this, so I think it's actually pretty good. These were probably my least favorite thing that we tried. They just seem to be very dewy and barely showed up on the skin, but I'm just not someone who loves a lot of liquid blushes. Like, it really has to impress me. I think the only ones I've like really loved are the Rare Beauty ones and the Say ones, but these are just a no-go for me. I would personally buy this little cream palette instead. Plus you get a little bit more with the bronzers, the blush, and the highlighter. Also, the under eye brightener that we tried, I thought that this one was fine. I am very, very picky with under eye brighteners, and it's hard for me to find one that I truly love. This one, I just think it has too much of a glowy, sticky formula that I don't really like. It does not beat out my Sigma color corrector, so I can't say this is a favorite. My Sigma is still on top for color corrector and just formula overall. I do feel like this did kind of fade our concealer just a little bit since this product is so thick, so I wasn't loving this. I think it's okay, but I think there's definitely better. I really like this lip product too, the Melt and Shine from Catrice. Even though this isn't like an exact dupe, I thought it was so beautiful. Just a nice sheer formula, really comfy on the lips. It doesn't like move around too much, and it didn't disappear super, super fast. I still feel like it leaves a little bit of a stain behind, which is nice. So these I think are a real winner. So I think we definitely had, you know, some more wins than losses here. So that's my thoughts on everything so far. Just, you know, a couple things I didn't love, but for the most part, there was some pretty good products, and for it all being like under $10, that's pretty amazing. I'll have all these products linked down below for you if there's anything you guys want to check out. I'm gonna let you guys go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.